Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well today. Let's talk a little bit about the horror fishing game, Dredge. Dredge uses a kind of familiar horror trope. A guy comes to the town, or a stranger comes to a town, and finds out that that town has some dark secrets in it. In this case, it's a fisherman who crashes on a bunch of rocks, gets rescued by the mayor or some other townsfolk in Great Marrow, and he becomes the fisherman of the town. He doesn't really have much say in it and doesn't really seem to protest his new role in this town, but hey, that's just kind of the way things go. The more you play this game, the more you realize this is very inspired by Lovecraftian horror. There's a big sense of, things that are wrong with this place. Like, they are collecting all these weird fish that just happen to, be in the different fishing spots that you go to. There are strange people there who don't seem to fit in with the rest of the place. You meet people who talk about trying to get away from the different towns and try to escape what's going on. You also find messages that kind of reveal someone named Jay was killed at some point. Over the course of the game, and depending on your choices in it, it's revealed that either Jay was your wife and you murdered her, or something else happened where you want to try to resurrect her. And depending on your choices again, you can either get swallowed up by a serpent at the end of this, or the whole world kind of gets destroyed. It's not really clear while you're playing this if these towns actually exist in the real world, or if all of this is going on inside the fisherman's head, because you don't really get a whole lot of, commentary from the fisherman. It's all just going on in his head, maybe. Most of this game is you sailing around in your little ship, going to either spots to dredge up, just wreckage from other ships, relics that you might need in order to advance the plot of the story, or going to fishing spots in order to, fish and collect a bunch of different things to sell for money. That's really what you're doing most of the time. Both the fishing and the dredge spots are played out like quick time events. So you're given you go to one, you decide you're going to fish, and then like a little wheel pops up and you need to press your button at the right time in order to advance reeling in the fish. The dredge spots work a little bit differently, where you are trying to basically avoid the blank spots in the wheels. So you're on the outer wheel, you'll move down to the inner wheel, and so on and so forth, until eventually it decides that you've solved this thing. There are little timers that run up, so you know about how much time you have to do this for. It's not really the best way of doing it, but it kind of works for the gameplay overall. There are a few towns in this little patch of ocean in the middle of nowhere, and some of these towns you can sell your fish, and all of them, for the most part, you can talk to some different townsfolk. Sometimes you need to drop off different quest items at towns, and that sort of thing. You also get different quests from the townsfolk, which usually revolve around you going to a certain spot in the ocean and either fishing or dredging up something for them. You can also upgrade and repair your ship at some places, because there's shit out there that does not want you to be doing what you're doing, and sometimes it messes you up pretty good. One thing I didn't really get when I was playing this was how much damage your ship can actually take. That was something that was a little bit unclear to me. It happened a few times where I was eaten by a leviathan or like a giant anglerfish or something, but I wish that was made a little bit more clear. Either way, you're trying to avoid stuff before you die. When you're in port, you can also research some improvements for your ship. That's really just improving the overall equipment. In some of them, you can buy better equipment, which is always great. It kind of adds a little bit of an RPG element to all of this, even though it's not really a role-playing game. I really like the look of this game. During the daytime, it's pretty nice out. It's kind of relaxing almost. And then when it gets to nighttime, it's pretty creepy, especially if you've been up for a while in the game and you're not really very coherent. It does a good job of sort of showing that slowly your character is letting like his exhaustion take hold of him. So it prompts you to go back and take a rest at the town or something along those lines. It's also pretty easy to tell the different spots that you need to go to. You do have a map in this game, and the parts that, like, specific quest spots are marked on there. Gosh, I'm slowly forgetting how to speak English here. Once it gets to nighttime, that's when things really get fun in this game, just because they do their best to make things pretty trippy. Like, eyes will just kind of form in the fog. The fog makes it just a major pain in the ass to see anything. But you can see like some of the lights from the buoys, the lights from the lighthouse, and a few of the villages along the different islands that'll have lights on as well. Your own light for your boat does not penetrate very far into the fog, so a lot of the rocks and everything will just kind of pop out of nowhere. It's really cool. It's like having an environmental jump scare or something like that. I was really digging it driving around at night, especially when my little guy was exhausted and just started seeing weird stuff, like water spouts forming in the middle of the night, but they're all like circled with weird reddish glows and everything. The weird sea monsters in this. One of them looks an awful lot like an anglerfish. It was really creepy, especially at night, because it was all glowing and everything. There's just a whole lot of really cool visuals in this. There's also one where this kind of goes with gameplay as well, and it's only happened if I've had squid in my cargo hold, but all of a sudden a bunch of like black and red birds will appear out of nowhere, and they'll just kind of descend and eat all the fish in my cargo hold, which I thought was kind of a dick move, but it looked really cool. It's one of those things where I love the way the game looks, and sometimes, especially with those birds, that annoyed me. That really annoyed me. Overall, the graphics and the visuals in this look really good. There are some weird things with the characters in this. So you usually just get like character portraits, and they kind of reminded me of the art style in Disco Elysium just a little bit. This one is it's not as gritty, obviously, in Dredge, but it sort of reminded me of that art style. They also kind of resemble like porcelain dolls in some ways, because their expressions never move, and it just made everything very unsettling. I haven't played too many horror games this year. I just haven't really gotten around to it or anything like that. So I saw Dredge, I thought it looked really interesting, and I gave it a try. And yeah, it's one of the better horror games that I have played in honestly a while. It's not as good as some of The Quarry or Until Dawn or some of the dark pictures, I think. Gosh, my brain is not working right now. I can't really remember them. It's not as good as those, but it is still a very fun kind of horror indie game. I was really digging this, and I know there are at least 2 endings that I'm aware of. There might be more. I got one where I got swallowed by a leviathan, so I might try to play this again, and hopefully that doesn't happen. I do know the other one, the world blows up, or at least this part of it blows up, and you can kind of assume that it's either this guy's paranoia or something happens, or it's him accepting what's happened in his life, but I like to think that he destroys the entire world. Like, the entire world was relying on this guy not trying to bring his wife back, and he tries anyway, but whatever. I can try to get that ending, because I haven't actually done it yet. Anyway, that's going to wrap things up. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.